Hey, garden guys and gals, it's Steph with Tiny's Garden, and today is an exciting day. It is the day that I'm starting to sow several seeds, but today specifically I'm going to show you snapdragons. 9 different varieties I'm going to sow this year. So snapdragons are a cold hardy annual, which means that they can handle some cold. These guys I'm going to start about 8 to 10 weeks before my last frost, which is April 30th. I'm in zone 5B. I'm pushing it just a little tiny bit early. Next week will be 10 weeks for me, but we're close enough to the point where I'm gonna try pushing these guys into the cold a little more and see how they do. For your reference, today is February 11th, and I've got about 650 seeds total. So because I have so many and because I want to have consistent blooms over the course of the season, I don't want them all to come up and bloom and then be gone at the same time. I want to prolong that period. I'm going to try doing some succession planting. Now, if it's your first year doing this, or you've got a smaller garden plot, whatever the case may be, don't feel like you have to do succession planting. It's not a must by any means, but it is a way that you can extend the amount of time that you have a certain flower. So I'm gonna do at least 2 flats today, and then in about 3 weeks, I'm going to do another 2 flats, or however many flats you want to start, so that I've got snapdragons longer than I would if I just started one now and didn't do any other succession planting. So let's cover the snapdragons I am starting this year. They were one of my favorite cut flowers out of the cut flower garden last year, so I stocked up. The first one is Potomac Apple Blossom, and I might be the most excited for this one. Madame Butterfly Bronze with White, Potomac Orange, Costa Apricot, Opus 3 Early Bronze, Chantilly Bronze, Potomac Early Sunrise Mix. And all of those that I just named are from Johnny's Seeds. I've got 2 others I saw that I wanted to grab. Rembrandt Snapdragon from Hudson Valley Seed Company, Night and Day Snapdragon from Botanical Interest. Now let's talk about the supplies I'm going to use to start these snapdragons and what I'm doing just a little bit differently this year. I did have good success last year, and I used my Roe's Starter Success Kit. I never get that name right, but I'll put it on the screen again. And this was great. I had good results. There's 24 cells in this. I was happy with that. However, for this year, what I'm going to use is a 72 plug tray instead of this, because I'm simply growing so many more varieties than I did last year. If you're an avid home gardener or doing, just some market bouquets here and there, smaller cell trays are fine. It's not a big deal. Do what works for you. But because snapdragons are such a tiny seed, they're okay to go in something like this, which is 72, but ideally, I would even use 288 plug trays because I can fit so much more in with less real estate on my grow lights. And it's a small seed, so it can handle that short cell tray. So in my perfect world, I would have purchased 288 plug trays to start these. However, today I'll be using 72 plug cell trays. Now again, because it's such a tiny seed, I am going to try bottom watering this year, which means using a leak-proof tray that I set my cell tray in so as not to displace those tiny seeds and hopefully have even better germination, because light is needed for germination for snapdragons. So they're surface sown, which means they're set right on top of the soil, and then that is how they germinate. So sometimes if you're overhead watering with the spray bottle, you can push those seeds around and they might not have any light to germinate anymore. So in an effort to avoid that, I'm gonna try bottom watering more this year than I did last year. So once those seeds have been placed on top of the soil, I'm going to cover these with a light layer of vermiculite, which looks like this, and it is very fine. I know some people, if they use a larger vermiculite, they just grind it in a coffee grinder. I think Nicole from Fowler Hill Farm does that. So there's different options, but this one I find is pretty fine in itself. no pun intended. It helps with moisture control and also preventing algae growth. And those seeds will still get enough light to germinate. Once that is done, then it's time for the humidity domes to go on, which look like this. I'll come in and set them on there to help maintain humidity, which will speed up germination. And it'll take about 7 to 14 days for these guys to germinate at 70 to 75 degrees. Now, last year I did not use a heat mat and I had good success, but this year I'm going to try and use a heat mat and see if that catalyzes or speeds up germination a little bit. Now with a heat mat, you can also purchase a thermostat, which allows you to set a temperature you want your heat mat to stay at. So for these, I'm gonna set this to 70 degrees to make sure that they stay right around that temperature. You don't have to get this option. I like to because I like to know it's right where I want it. Or if for some reason something happens and the temperature is really rising, I can read what the soil temperature is. So if it's 80 degrees, I know I've got to either take the heat mat out or cool it down somehow a bit. Now, because my seed starting mix and the soil that I'm using in these will already be moistened, I won't necessarily have to bottom water these for a couple days, but after a couple days, I'm going to check on them and put a little bit of water in the bottom tray here and then just set this right down there so that the flower and the roots can soak up that water from underneath and take what they need instead of, again, spraying on top. And when 50% of these germinate, I will take this off and make sure they're under the grow light so they can continue to grow. Taking this off when about 50% have germinated avoids what's called dampening off, where your little seedlings can get too much humidity and essentially break or not be very strong seedlings. So that's why it's important to remove the humidity dome when around 50% of your seedlings are up. So those are pretty much all the details. I am going to take you through and show you step by step how I'm doing it as well, but I just wanted to cover that up front and again reiterate, use what you have. If you have smaller cell trays, you can use that. If you don't want to invest in a heat mat or you don't have one right now, that's okay. You don't have to use the heat mat. I had good luck last year without using them, but I'm just telling you the differences so you get an idea of what I'm doing differently this year and we'll see how my results are. Okay, time to do this. I am going to moisten my seed starting mix, which is in my big tub, so I don't make quite as big of a mess. But I'm going to moisten my seed starting mix to the point where it will hold together, but if I squeeze it, there's not water draining from that ball. Sweater off. Let's do this. Okay, so I'm gonna take some water. I just use this humongous yellow vase as my little watering can here. And we'll get to mixing. Again, we're using seed starting mix here so that the seedlings can push up through the soil. I'll make a clump and see if it holds together when I turn it upside down. Pretty good. Now we're gonna take our seed starting tray and simply fill it. If you wanna keep a really tidy workspace, you can push the soil up and actually put your tray into your tub. Trying to get the corners and the edges. And then from here, I'm gonna tap it so that any air pockets, the soil will settle. You can see here, I need some more soil around some of the edges. So now I'll fill those areas again. Nothing like working with hands in the dirt. I love working with hands in the dirt. Lightly settle again. That's pretty good, my friends. All right, so now my moistened seed starting mix is in my trays. And before you put those seeds in there, you wanna make sure that you mark your ID tags. So you've got the names of your varieties that you're going to put in your seed starting tray so you know what is what. really important, don't do this after, do it before. So I am going to start with my Potomac. So my Potomac Apple Blossom, Potomac Early Sunrise, and Potomac Orange, so that all my Potomacs are in the same seed starting tray. Now, I may not use all of these, and actually there's no way I can because there's 50 seeds in each packet, so that would be 150. I just want to fill up the 72. So I'm going to break this up into 3 parts and plant them that way. So since I'm dividing this up by 3, I'm gonna start with Potomac Apple Blossom, which I put here. 72 divided by 3 is 24. So I'm going in 24 spaces, which for me in this one, my next variety is gonna start here. So then I'll put my next marker there, 24, that's 4 rows. And then my last one will go there. Then I'm nice and even. I use a garden marker on my tags so that even when we get into spring, I still know which is which. Last year I used a Sharpie and it came off more easily. Let's open these guys, take a look at the seeds. They come in a little itty bitty envelope. I'm going to try pouring them into a little ramekin here. And then I'm using a new trick I learned to actually lick the end of this and go in and pick one up. And voila! You can see that little itty bitty seed is on the end of this, and I'm not losing it or rolling it around with my fingers as much, getting it lost in the soil. Now, I'm gonna actually put it in the tray. I'm gonna come in and just rub it across the soil so it's on the surface. I can't even see it in there, but it's off of here, so it's in there. Here's our next one. There it is on the end. Now it's off and in the cell tray. You can really get into a groove after a while. Get used to picking them up and gently laying them on the surface. I'm just doing 1 seed per cell, especially if you're using a 288 flat, you just used 1. I could probably do 2 to ensure even better germination, but I'm just gonna do 1. I am to the point where I need to start my next variety, so I'm going to take the seeds that are left over in my ramekin and gently pour them back into my seed packet so I can use them again for future use. On to the next one. I'm gonna fly through these and then I'll meet you again at the end. Okay, so my first tray is completely set to go. It's got the vermiculite on top with the humidity dome as well, so it's ready to go on the heat mat. I just finished planting or sowing my bronze varieties in the second tray, and I'm feeling like the soil is just a little dry. So what I'm going to do instead of watering it up close is actually just take my spray bottle, put it really high, and do like a soft misting so that the seeds don't sink down in the soil or get displaced. If my soil was a little more moist, I would just avoid this step and immediately after sowing, put on the humidity dome and put it on the heat mat. But because I feel like it's just a little dry, I'm going to do this. Sound effects, of course. Just slightly, a soft mist. And that'll make me feel better that I know I've got some moisture on top as well. Now it's time to do the vermiculite. So I'm just taking my vermiculite and doing a nice light layer on top of this tray. The light will still be able to get through this because snapdragons, as I said previously, need light to germinate. Okay, done with that. Now humidity dome on, and let's go get these under the light and on a heat mat. Okay, so now we're down in the basement. These guys are tucked in here with the grow lights on because they need light to germinate. And the heat mats are underneath. I'll bring you over here so you can see that heat mat setup a little closer. So you can see if I lift this tray here, there's this heat mat underneath and the cords are both plugged in so they're on. I'm also using a thermostat that I talked about that is set at 70 degrees now. You can see it's warming up, it's at 69. And the way this measures the temperature is there's a cord that runs into the actual soil. So if I put that back, follow this cord up, it comes up into here, and there's a little prong that looks like this that I simply stick in the soil, and that's how this reads and will tell you what your soil temperature is at. Again, I'm looking for 70 to 75 degrees with these Snapdragons. So I'll keep my eye on these guys as we go. After about a day or so, I will bottom water again by gently lifting up here and pouring some water into the bottom of that tray that's leak-proof. I'll pour about a half of an inch of water in there, and that way they can water themselves by coming and pulling up from the bottom tray into those roots. Okay, all cleaned up here. The one thing I will add is that after really focusing and getting those seeds in each cell, you kind of get a little lost, or at least I did. So try and stay laser focused when you're doing that. That'll help. I might have 4 little seedlings come up in one cell, but if that happens, I'll just go through and thin, which means pick out any seedlings that are more than 1 per cell. Thanks for watching. I do hope this was helpful, and if you're getting your Snapdragons underway soon, good luck. Drop a comment below and let me know what varieties you're starting. As I said, I'll come back in about 3 weeks and do another planting of those Snapdragons as well, so that I can have more blooms through the season. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love to have you here to follow all things garden and join this community we're building, and we will see you in the next one. Happy planting!